Let me ask you something that I'd like you to answer honestly, even if the honest answer is uncomfortable. What are you actually trying to get from your life? Now, I don't want the answer you'd give in a job interview or at a dinner party or to your therapist on a good day. I want the real answer, the thing that, if you're honest with yourself in the quiet moments, you are actually shaping your choices around. If the evidence of how we really spend our time and energy is any guide, your answer is likely to involve a combination of security, comfort, achievement, approval, pleasure, or the avoidance of pain and embarrassment. Now, these aren't shallow goals. They're deeply human. They're the goals that most societies, most families, and most psychological frameworks treat as natural and legitimate aims of a human life. The Stoics looked at that list and said, none of those things are genuine goods. Not some of them, all of them. Every single item on that list, security, comfort, achievement, approval, pleasure, they all fall into the category of preferred indifferents. Things we may quite reasonably pursue and prefer to have, but not things that constitute genuine eudaimonia or flourishing. Not things whose presence makes you genuinely good or whose absence makes you genuinely deficient. There is only one genuine good, according to the Stoics, and it isn't on that list. Today we make the case for that claim, fully. Welcome back to the Stoic Mind Mechanic. My name is Tim Howell. In our last episode, we built the architectural overview of Stoic philosophy, the three disciplines of logic, physics, and ethics, and how they depend on each other. Today we're entering the topic of ethics in full, beginning with its foundation, the Stoic doctrine of virtue. Now, this isn't going to be a comfortable episode. The central claim is quite challenging, but I want to make the argument as carefully and as completely as I can, because I think if you follow it all the way through, if you resist the temptation to dismiss it before you've understood it, you'll find at the end of it something that feels less like a burden and more like a door opening. So let's begin by rescuing a word. The English word virtue has a problem. Through centuries of Christian moral teaching and Victorian social convention, and the particular embarrassments of 21st century proprietary culture, it's come to mean something like the quality of a person who doesn't do anything interesting, prim, restrained, morally tidy, a virtue signaller. We even use the word almost as an insult now, which just tells you how far the concept has fallen. The Greek word the Stoics used was arete, and arete doesn't mean any of that. Arete is most accurately translated as excellence or fulfilling one's potential. It's the word used for a knife that cuts well, for a thoroughbred racehorse, for eyes that see at 20/20, or for a general who makes brilliant strategic decisions. Arete is the full, unimpeded functioning of a thing in accordance with its nature, the realization of what that thing is actually for. When the Stoics applied arete to human beings, they were asking, what does a human being at full functioning look like? What is it to be an excellent human being? Not in one area of your life, but as a whole person. And their answer was, a human being at full excellence is one whose reason operates clearly, whose character is reliable, whose relationships are just, whose courage is genuine, and whose desires are well ordered. A person, in other words, whose inner life is fully in accordance with what is best in human nature. Notice what's not in that description. There's no mention of wealth, no mention of fame, no mention of physical beauty, professional success, or social standing. Not because those things are bad, the Stoics didn't think they were bad, but because they have nothing to do with excellence in the relevant sense. A cruel person can be wealthy, and a coward can be famous. An unjust person can be physically magnificent. External things tell you nothing about the quality of the character that possesses them. Seneca makes this point in a letter to Lucilius with characteristic directness. It is the mind that makes us rich. This goes with us into exile, and in the harshest wilderness, having found there all it needs within itself, it can enjoy its own resources. The mind that makes us rich. Not the size of your house or your bank account, not a glittering CV or resume. The quality of the inner life. That's what the Stoics mean by arete. And that is what they mean when they say it's the only genuine good. The Stoic argument for the claim that virtue is the only genuine good has several steps, and I need to lay them out precisely because that precision matters. So the first step is the observation that we made in the previous episode, that genuine goodness must be good without qualification. A thing is genuinely good only if it's good always for everyone in every circumstance. Not good under some conditions and bad under others. Not good for some people and harmful for others. Genuinely, unconditionally, reliably good. The second step is the test. Does wealth meet this standard? So consider, wealth in the hands of a just, wise person can be used to benefit many people. And that's good. Wealth in the hands of a cruel, foolish person can be used to cause enormous harm. That's bad. The wealth itself, therefore, can't be the good. Its moral quality depends entirely on the character of the person that's wielding it. So wealth is morally neutral in itself. It's a tool. Like all tools, its value is entirely a function of how and by whom it is used. Now, if you apply the same test to health, health in a courageous person enables good works, meaningful relationships, a life of genuine contribution. Health in a vicious person enables them to pursue their vices more effectively and for longer. So health is not unconditionally good. It depends again on the character of the person who has it. Pleasure, knowledge, status, longevity. Run them all through the same test and the result is the same. Every external good is morally neutral in itself. Its value, positive or negative, depends entirely on what kind of person is holding it. The third step is the critical move. What is the one thing that can't be turned against you? What is the one possession that's good in all hands, in all circumstances, without exception? The Stoics argued it was virtue. A just person can't use their justice badly. A genuinely courageous person can't use their courage to commit cowardice. And a wise person can't use their wisdom to make foolish decisions. So virtue is self-validating. It's good in exactly the way external things are not. Unconditional, reliable, and permanent. And that is why virtue is the only genuine good. Not by some arbitrary preference, not by some religious decree, but by the logical consequence of asking rigorously what goodness actually requires. From the Hayes translation of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius puts it with the directness we've come to expect. If it isn't right, do not do it. If it isn't true, do not say it. For let your impulse be in your own power. Now there's an objection to this argument that I need to face directly because it's the most serious one and the one most likely to be on your mind right now. And it goes something like this. Surely there is genuine suffering in the world that isn't the product of vice or poor judgment. Children born into poverty through no fault of their own, people struck by illness that no amount of virtue could prevent, or victims of injustice, violence and oppression who've done nothing to deserve it. Are we really saying that their suffering isn't a genuine evil? That what's being done to them is merely a preferred indifferent? That their pain doesn't count? The Stoic answer is careful, and it's important to state it precisely because it can be easily distorted. The Stoics don't say that suffering isn't real, or that it doesn't matter, or that the person experiencing it should simply feel differently about it. They say something more specific, that what makes suffering genuinely evil in the morally significant sense is the damage it does to the soul of the person who experiences it or inflicts it. When someone's unjustly imprisoned, two things happen. Their external circumstances worsen dramatically, and that's genuinely bad, in the sense that it's something we should fight to prevent and correct. But the Stoic claim is that what's worst about it, what constitutes the deepest evil, is the damage it does to the prisoner's character, to their capacity to remain just, courageous and clear-minded, in conditions designed to break them. And the opposite of that, the extraordinary person who maintains their integrity through imprisonment, that person's virtue is, in the most meaningful sense, untouched. This isn't a comfortable doctrine. It doesn't pretend that injustice is okay. It doesn't advise indifference to the suffering of others. The Stoics were deeply committed to justice as a virtue, to fighting for what's right, precisely because justice matters. But it does make a distinction that I think is genuinely important between what happens to the body and what happens to the soul, and it insists that the second is more fundamental than the first. Epictetus, who'd been a slave, who knew this from the inside, put it this way: "No man is free who isn't master of himself." You can be enslaved in body and free in soul, and you can be free in body and enslaved by your own passions, fears and desires. The freedom that matters, the freedom that the Stoics were pointing at, is interior, and no one can take it away except yourself. So I want to turn the claim around, because I think its most important implication isn't the demanding side, though the demand is real, but the liberating side. And it's a liberation that's exactly what a huge number of people today are quietly and desperate for. Consider what it would actually mean if virtue were the only genuine good. It would mean that the quality of your life, the deep quality, the thing that actually makes it worth living or not, is entirely within your own power. Not partially, not mostly, entirely. You can't be made to live badly by circumstance. You can't be robbed of what matters most by bad luck, by other people's decisions, by the economy, by your health, by your past, or by the family that you were born into, or by the culture that you live in. Those things affect your preferred indifference, your comfort, your opportunities, your options. And those differences are real and they matter, and we should work to make them more equitable. But they don't touch the thing that the Stoics identified as the only genuine good. That remains yours, always, unconditionally, in every circumstance, without exception. Now think about what most of us are actually doing with our psychological energy. We are investing enormous amounts of it in outcomes that we can't fully control. The approval of people whose opinion of us is none of our business. The success of projects whose outcome depends on 1,000 variables outside of our influence. The health of our bodies, which will eventually fail regardless of how well we look after them. Or the security of a world that's never been and never will be fully secure. Every unit of energy we invest in controlling what can't be controlled is energy not invested in the one thing that can be: your own character, your own judgment, your own responses, the daily specific achievable work of becoming the person that you want to be. That's what Marcus meant in one of the most frequently quoted lines in the Meditations when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The strength isn't the strength of someone who's stopped caring about what happens. It's the strength of someone who's located caring in the right place, who's stopped bleeding energy into the uncontrollable and directed it fully into the only territory where it can actually bring results. Before I close, I want to make something absolutely clear, because there is a risk that virtue, even rescued from its Victorian associations, still remains a vague concept, something you aspire to in general but can't identify in particular. The Stoic virtue isn't heroic in the theatrical sense. It isn't primarily visible in great trials and dramatic sacrifices, though it is expressed there too. It is expressed first and most reliably in the small decisions of an ordinary day. It's expressed in whether you say the true thing or the convenient thing when they're different, in how you treat a person who can do nothing for you, in whether you respond to a difficult email from a position of judgment or a place of reactivity. It's in how you handle being wrong, in what you do with the spare 15 minutes between meetings, in whether you keep the small promises that you make to yourself or the big ones that you make to others. These are not grand, life-changing moments, they are the texture of an everyday life, and the Stoic claim is that the texture is what a life is all about. The life-changing moments are rare, the small moments are constant, and it's in the constant daily and repeated quality of your choices that your character is formed and reformed and tested. This is why the practices that we're going to explore in later episodes, journaling, self-examination, the morning and evening review, are not just optional supplements to the philosophy. They are the philosophy in practice, the daily maintenance of the only machinery that genuinely matters, your mind. I want to return to the question I asked at the beginning. What are you actually trying to get from your life? The Stoic answer isn't nothing. It's not peace, solitude, or indifference. It's something considerably more demanding and considerably more alive than any of that. The Stoic answer is excellence. The full, unimpeded daily exercise of your human capacity for reason, justice, courage, and self-governance. Not for an audience and not for reward, not because it will make you wealthy or admired or comfortable, though it may, as a side effect, produce some of those things, but because that's what a human life is fully lived actually consists in. That answer is both demanding and the most freeing at the same time. It's demanding because it asks everything of you every day in every small decision. And it's freeing because it puts everything that genuinely matters entirely within your own reach. Your reflection for this episode: choose one decision you're going to make today, however small, and make it deliberately. Not for the outcome, not for the approval. Make it because it's what the best version of you would do, and see what it feels like. In our next episode, we're going to examine the 4 cardinal virtues, the 4 specific forms that Stoic excellence takes: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. We'll look at each one in turn and at the Stoic argument that these 4 aren't separate qualities that can be mixed and matched, but 4 aspects of a single underlying excellence that you either have or are working towards. That argument's surprising and I think genuinely illuminating. So please like and subscribe if you've found this series useful so far. Every subscriber genuinely helps the channel reach the people who need it most. So until then, keep calm, keep stoic, and I'll see you in the next one.